Alrighty, welcome City Quants to pulling trades data. We're going to be using IBKR's API as well as Python libraries such as pandas and Python itself to be able to fetch historical data. And this will be data that we'll be using as backtest for our algorithms we'll make in the future, and as well as ways that you can, like a data set you can use for quantitative research, okay? And for any other application you would be using, I guess, historical data. So let's go ahead and let's open up this next slide here, which is my 4-step process on how to make a code that retrieves data and saves the data in a formatted way. And this is going to be data for the SPY. We're going to do 1 year of SPY data, and we're going to do the bar size for 1 day. Okay. So here's the 4-step process. The first step is having Trader Workstation and Conda set up. So for this video in particular, I'm going to assume you have Python installed, you have some sort of environment handler like Anaconda is my use case. And so I'm going to assume you have Conda set up, activated, and that you have the packages already installed, which I'll also show you what the inline looks like for installing those packages. But I'm not going to really show you how to install an environment for Conda and also connect it to your Visual Studio Code. So I'm just going to assume that you already know how to do that for this video. And for my quant team members who are not familiar with how to do those, I will make a separate video for how to do that. Or I'll refer you to some YouTube videos that I recommend that kind of show how to set it up. But not in this video, I'm not going to show how to set it up. Okay. So the second step is going to be to connect to Interactive Brokers. So we'll first connect our Interactive Brokers account by establishing a client ID and connecting it to the correct port using the IBInsync library. So I'm going to show you guys first. This screen behind me, this is what the Interactive Brokers trading workstation looks like. It's a pretty complicated and like super nuanced desktop application for trading, okay? And there's a lot of tools you can get with it, a lot of products you can trade through it, and a lot of news insights you can get as well. This is kind of, I would say, similar to like a Bloomberg terminal in a sense. That's like the best business school correlation I can make to it, but obviously a little bit less sophisticated, but at the same time, it's still very powerful. It's very powerful. But my favorite part of it is this API, right? This an API, by the way. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna just search up the definition of an API. It is a set of rules for all right, maybe not REST. We can just do regular API. There you go. It's a way for a client to connect to a server base, for example, Interactive Brokers historical price data servers. So then we can get it back as a response back into our computer, okay? So for example, instead of having to like manually myself gather historical price data every day for the SPY for the past year, which is what we're trying to make today, this server base Interactive Brokers has like 20 plus years of SPY data, right? Every day, every minute, every second even. But it's all like it's organized in a way, but it's not cleanly looking, right? I'll show you how it looks like later in the code. But we're also going to organize the data so we can have it look nicely in an Excel file. That's not only so then you as an individual, as a human, can gather insights from that data, but it's also so in the future, it makes it easier to grab information from our own data that we're going to be saving and collecting for our future algorithms and for backtest for our algorithms as well. So yeah, this is what an API is, just an application programming interface, a set of rules for software applications to communicate with each other. Really is the best definition you would need for it. Okay, it's essentially just for my computer to connect over to Interactive Brokers servers, grab the data I need, and that's it. And they'll go ahead and they'll respond with the data that I want. So yeah, let's go ahead. This is the SPY that we're collecting, by the way. If you guys don't know what the SPY is, it is essentially a trust that seeks to achieve its investment objective by holding a portfolio of the common stocks that are included in the index, with the weight of each stock in the portfolio substantially corresponding to the weight of such stock in the index. So just to clarify, the SPY is a tradable product, but the index itself, the SPX, is not tradable, okay? It is just an index. It is something traders refer to so then they can get a better understanding of what the overall market is like, right? So again, you don't trade this, but you do trade this. So, and then again, this is related to this. Now that we have that understanding as well, I also want to show you guys the API settings that you will need. Sorry, didn't mean to check that. But you'll need all the checkboxes that I have checked. And there's going to be a few of these checkboxes that you'll have to actually uncheck. Like maybe like the read-only API might be checked for you automatically. I would unread that. I would uncheck it. Okay. So then if you want to place trades through it, it will literally place the trades through. Okay. And then, by the way, in the future, we will be referring to this socket port here. So just kind of remember that, the 7497. Alrighty. So let's go ahead. We already completed step 1, which is assuming that you've already have this all set up and the API settings configured, right? Here's the configuration for you. Again, just pause the video here, save it. And let's get started by doing the connect to interactive brokers, okay? So let me go ahead. Let's open up VS Code here. I made a file called City Quants, particularly for us. And I want to let you guys know I will not be posting the code itself anytime soon because I actually want you all to manually write this code down with me, okay? And the reason for that is I believe that you'll better learn how to code one. You'll also get to be able to understand like logically, line by line, how this code works. So you'll understand like logic. And on top of that, you'll have a better understanding as to why we're making this code as well. And I think the best way to do that is by literally typing it yourself, okay? And not just copying and pasting. So let's go ahead. I like to first just save the file, right? I'm going to save it as historical, if I can spell right, historical data.py. We're saving it .py because this is a Python file. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the terminal straight away. So we're going to be using our first package, and our first package is going to be the IB insync that I mentioned. And we're going to import everything from it. Okay, so this is the first line you want to write. It's going to be from IB underscore insync import all, and this is the abbreviation for all. Now, for most of you, you'll get an error here saying that this is not included, not mentioned, whatever, because you have to install the library into your computer. Okay, and you install it like this. I'm going to show you the website, IB insync installation. It's literally on here. You can just search up, like I just searched up IB insync download. Go to the Python page, like the actual project page, and here's the inline command you need, right? Let's just say you don't have pip installed for some reason or whatever, and you are using a conda environment, which is down here, by the way. You have to click down here. Just like look at the Python version you're using. And you can see if you have Python downloaded on your computer, it'll show up here. But I'm using my Anaconda environment because I like to control which packages I have. And also, if I want to open up like another project, I have like a whole different set of libraries and like a different version of Python. For that one, it helps that the fact that you can kind of switch your conda environment compared to having like this overall Python environment. So yeah, just make sure I called mine Algo Trader. You can call it whatever you want. So if this doesn't work, you can also type in
market data connection lost.
Conda install IB dash insync. It's not an underscore like you would here. It's
market data connection reestablished.
Do this dash, okay? So this is how you install this library. I don't want to get. I tend to blabber a lot, and so I don't want to make this video very long. My plan is to make these videos unedited, kind of like live stream VODs. The reason for that is because I have a lot of things to do myself. I'm already going to be spending a lot of time just making this video and planning for it. So I don't want to also add the time to edit it as well. And I also like the fact that it's live is that then you can kind of, with me, see kind of how I approach coding, as well as like if I ever am stuck on anything, you'll literally see me live like search. Like I remember I was practicing making this video and I didn't forgot what columns and rows were, so I had to literally just search up like columns and rows just to ensure that I was saying the right stuff. And I wanted to make sure I had like a picture of what the SPY is, the definition, maybe it's the assets, today's price, right? I also always will have the documentation open so that I can refer to like functions and how they're defined in the documentation. And I'll always, while we're coding, I'll refer to it so you guys can better understand it. We won't need this anymore. All right, so let's make this. Too much talking. Let's go. Let's make the connect function. The connect class first. So this, by the way, is this hashtag here in the green text is called a comment. The computer does not read it at all. It's just for me. It's just for us humans. So then we can kind of like organize the code ourselves. Okay. Okay. So this class, connect to IBKR. Let's start with first kind of abbreviating interactive brokers package. So here it is. This is the package itself, right? We're importing it here, but we're like connecting to it here. And so instead of constantly having to write like in uppercase IB all the time, we're just gonna use like this lowercase IB as our like abbreviation, similar to like any of you coders who use pandas. Import pandas as PD. Like this as PD is not necessary. You can kind of just always refer to it as pandas. But the reason why we do this is, and then in the future, when you're like writing out code, you can just write PD dot data frame, right? And we'll be using pandas shortly. I'll brief back to it later. All right. So let's go ahead. We need to set up a client ID. Okay. We're gonna set it as 1. By the way, if any of you guys get an error here, just let me know. Okay. Sometimes it's rare, but sometimes it happens. Okay. If you get an error here, just let me know, and I'll help you solve it. Yeah, what we do is instead of making this a static one, we'll just make it a dynamic random number by using the random function. But I don't want to explain it because it works like this as well, but sometimes it won't. Okay. So we're set it client ID as 1. All right, now we're gonna use our first IB connect function right here, right, which is to connect to the running TWS or IB gateway application, and we do it through a host number, a port number, a client ID, hence why I wrote it up here, and these other stuff, but I'm not going to include it in this situation. Okay, so IB connect, we're gonna do just like it said. We're gonna connect it to a port. Not a port. I'm sorry, like a server. Which here we're literally gonna copy whatever it says in the documentation. So for everybody, you're gonna use this server number. Okay, 127.0.0.1. Okay, or 0.0.1. Sorry. Okay. And then we're going to use 7497 as our port. Now, if you guys, again, remember what I said earlier, you get the socket port number from here, your API settings. And for everybody who's using a paper trading account, it will be 7497. If you are referring to or are logged in currently to your like live trading account, it will be 7496. I do not suggest practicing with your API on the live account. You don't want to actually accidentally place trades with real money. Here I'm using $1 million in paper cash, and so just in case I do accidentally make an algorithm that like runs off, or an algorithm that sends trades through, which I didn't really want them to be sent through, at least it's like a paper account and not like my actual money. So yeah, 7497 is the one we're going to use even for data collection. There's no need to be logged into your live one because again, there's no
market
point running
data
into
connection
the risk
lost
of that essentially. So okay. Like I said, we have to connect to the client ID
market
as well.
data connection reestablished.
And you can leave a note here that like hashtag adjust 7497 to 74. This is for like maybe another algorithm for live trading account. Okay. So this is just a note for any of you. You don't have to write this in your code, but if you want to change your port in the future, you want to make like an actual live trading program that connects to your live account, you would change this to 6. That's it. Okay. I'll leave it here. Okay, and then we're gonna return ID. Okay, perfect. So this is our first class, the connection class. So we finished step 2. Now it's step 3. Retrieve the data. All right, we're gonna fetch 1 year of daily SPY trades data using get historical data. Now, what do I mean when I say like trades data? For any of you guys who don't understand what trades data means, trades data is data that is adjusted for splits but not dividends. All right, so when we talk about quantitative finance, at one point, especially when you get deeper into it, and obviously when you work at like an institution,
market data connection
everything
lost.
is very specific, okay? And it actually can make a lot of difference to the
market data connection
like,
reestablished
from after your backtesting an algorithm. It can affect the P&L or whatever calculation you have, like your Sharpe ratio, solely by like this small thing, right? Like there's a difference between adjusted last, which is data that's adjusted for splits and dividends. And then there's also, with like, trades, which is just adjusted for splits, but not for dividends. And if you guys don't know what a dividend is or split is, please go to our resources page tab on the GroupMe and look at Tasty Live and refer to their market concepts like handout I gave you all, because there they'll explain to you what those things are in detail. Okay, and then what we can see here, trades is if we refer to a trades data, we're getting open data, high data, low data, closed data, and volume. Okay, and it's different looks like for each type of thing. And then also we want to make sure that the trades data does work for stocks. We are trading a stock. SPY is a stock. And so it looks like here, yes, it does have trades data for stock. And then this will refer to in the future duration string, like valid durations and valid bars. Now again, I'm getting this all. This is in C#, that's why it looks weird. I'm getting this all from the Python documentation on Interactive Brokers, okay? And I will link this as well, the documentation, okay? And for most, if you ever start learning how to code, you always will be referring to documentation. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do that step 3, which is retrieving the historical data. So let's retrieve historical data. Awesome. Let's make the class get historical data. Right here, and let's have it be, so it's IB, symbol, the duration, and the bar size. Because that's what we're going to need for this class. Oh my gosh, I see what's going on. There we go. And then I'm just writing fast here for now. Okay, so in line here is going to be where you can adjust duration and bar size as needed. Okay. Here. Also, I'm gonna leave these notes just for you guys to better understand, like, where in this code is stuff that you kind of manipulate to change the code, but still have like the same overarching theme, which is it's fetching historical data of a certain duration with a certain bar size. It's collecting trades data if you keep it as trades, and then it's also saving it to a CSV, and it's also formatting it into a data frame. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you guys all have kind of an understanding. So I'm adding these additional comments here. You do not have to write this in your code. You can write it differently here. You can write like, you know what I mean? The computer won't care because it's in the comments. All right. Besides that point, let's keep going. So let's set a contract equal to a stock, this class stock. And we're going to need it as a symbol, okay? The market we're going to use is smart, or the exchange. And then we're going to be using this in the USD currency. Now again, I get this here from the stock class definition that's in the documentation, right? Which sometimes Visual Studio does a really good job of showing you literally exactly what the class needs. So here it says it needs a symbol, which is going to be a string, which we'll get to later. An exchange, which is also a string. And by the way, if you guys don't know what a string is like text, like a word, a sentence, like smart. And then the currency is also a string. So not UDS, but USD. There you go. Okay, so that's what we needed for the contract. And then we're gonna also, just in case, we also want to make sure we qualify the contracts. I'm not going to go into much detail as to what this is, but more just remember to have it in your code. Okay? Just qualify the contract. Make sure it exists, things of that nature. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start like actually retrieving the historical data. We were kind of setting up the class itself, but now let's go ahead and actually like request the historical data. All right, now this is going to be a big line. So instead of writing it all in one line and then having this line go like super far out like this way, the point where we got to like scroll our screen over, we're going to write it write it downwards, okay? And this is more for like a better visual. And a lot of institutions might have you write it this way as well. So what does this like function, what does this function historical data need for this to work? All right, so what does this require historical data in IB documentation? Like, what does it refer to? So let's go ahead, literally look at the historical bar data in Interactive Brokers. And it looks like here, what you need is this. Every request needs the following: a ticker ID, a contract, an end date time, a duration string, a bar size setting, what to show, use RTH, which is regular trading hours, format date, and a keep up to date. Okay? And so let's go ahead. We're literally going to go line by line and make the same thing. So we have a contract, right? That's the first thing, the ticker ID. I mean, sometimes you also skip stuff. So, like for example, here we technically skipped like a lot of stuff with this connect because you don't really need it. Right? You might only need it to like really like specify something. So here we don't really need a ticker ID. But we do need the contract, right? The contract we're interested in. We do need an end date time. All right, so end date time. And we're going to set that actually to nothing. The reason why is because we're going to just assume that we want data from today, right? So we're going to go like from today back a year. So let's go to our duration in line here. And let's say we want 1 year data, right? And we write the duration solely based on what the documentation says. It says that a valid duration is written as an S for seconds, D for day, and Y for year. We want 1 year. And you have to leave a space in between. And then for the bar size, again, what's a valid bar size? We have all these options. Now, here's the thing. Interactive Brokers does have a limit of how much data they will send you at once. So, like, if you ask for 1 second bar size data for a year worth, or maybe like 5 years, it won't let you. Okay, and then there's going to be like restrictions, and they'll kind of tell you what the restrictions are on a separate website. You have to find in the documentation, or just search up on Google like what's the limitation on like historical bar data in seconds, right? And I might be like, okay, if you want 1 second bar data, we can only go up to like a 1 month maximum, right? That's a lot. That's like probably like 13,000 lines worth of Excel rows. So just make sure also to take that in consideration as well. And then, so yeah, but we can for sure do like 1 day for 1 year. That's like 250 something lines. So yeah, we can totally make it possible, and it'll totally let you. So it said to write it down as 1 day, right? Yeah, 1 day. Cool. So now we set our duration of bar size, and you can always change it. Like, let's just say tomorrow you don't want a year, you want like 5 years, right? 5 years, and you want like instead of 1 day, you want like 1 week, like weekly bar sizes. You can totally do that. This is something where you can play around with right here as well. So that's why I'm gonna leave these like adjust things. I would probably not adjust this. I might just get rid of this, but I want you guys to contextually understand it. Okay. Sorry. Let's go back to this. So end date time, when you have nothing here, it assumes that your date, the end date, is today. So if we ask for 1 year and of 1 day bar sized data, historical data, it's gonna pull every day, the bar size, like the trades data from 1 day for the past year. So it's gonna go back to like July. It's gonna go literally back to January 14th, 2024. Okay. So, but if you want like data from like 2020 to 2022, you'd have to literally set this to 2022 0101. Okay. And more specifically, you might get an error if you do that. By the way, it's right here. For example, making a request with an end date time is like this. Okay. So you actually literally do the years. This even has it better here. It's like you have to do years, month, date, and then a dash in between. And you have to do the hours and 24-hour time, minute, and second. Okay. So that's why I don't really like messing around with this. If you have any questions, just let me know. We can kind of work on it together. But for this demonstration, we're just gonna have today be it, and it makes it really simple because you don't have to write anything in there. All right, let's keep going. So the next thing was a duration string. So let's go ahead and set that duration string actually to our duration, right? So then we don't have to write it twice. We don't have to write 1 year here and 1 year here. We can just write it up here. That's it, all in one line. And we don't have to adjust anything else. Okay. And then make sure you write a comma, then go to the next one. The next thing we needed was a bar size setting, right? And that's going to be our bar size, which again is a string, just like as requested here. The bar size setting is a string. So is here. Okay. Let's keep going. What to show is next. And what we want to show is the trades data, like we already talked about, right? You could change this to adjusted last. You could change it to any one of these. These are the historical data types that are right here. AGG trades, data should only be used for crypto contracts, okay? Stuff like that. And then if you really want to make sure you get everything right, just copy it right from the website. Your typing's all right. There we go. We're going to use regular trading hours. So we're going to set this to true. And then we are going to format our date to 2, okay? I'm not going to necessarily explain why in this context. You know, I can quickly explain it to you. All right. For this, it's going to be written right here in the documentation. Here we go. The format in which incoming bar dates should be presented. More specific. I know it is on this website. Come on. I gotta find it. 1 second. Oh. It's just like a format style. Like, if you set it to 1, it's like one formatting style. If you set it to 2, it's like a different formatting style. Did they tell you here? I swear I saw it earlier. All right, I don't want to spend too much time on this. Let me just make sure I don't see it real quick. All right, regardless, if you set it to like 1, you get like one type of format style. If you set it to 2, it will set it like kind of in this format style, which is what we want. We want this format. It's much easier to read, and you'll see in the future. All right, so there you go. And you can leave spaces here. You don't have to, right? Like we can keep. You don't have to even do a space. We'll do it for consistency. We'll do no space. There you go. We'll do everything like this. Again, you can always do it. This is like nothing crazy here. This is just more like up to you. All right. We already put a comma here, and then the last line we needed was keep up to date. Keep up to date. And we're gonna set this to false. Okay. I'm not really gonna explain why. I don't think. Yeah, no, I'm not going to. All right. And then for this demonstration, I actually want us to print the historical data. And then after that, we're gonna return it. Historical data. This is to then we can like close out this class. Okay. So now we've essentially finished making the request for the historical data. Okay. So I'm just gonna really quickly, I'm gonna make a main function so then we can just go ahead and have this all run. Okay. So let's make a main function. I'm not a function, a main class, and then this can all run. So now here's where we set our symbol up. Okay. Because we haven't really defined the symbol as the spy yet. You can do it right here. So we can write like here, adjust as needed here. And we're gonna write the same thing here, okay? Just so you guys know, like where in the code is like a place you can change it up. Technically you can change this up here too. I would probably not. I would not refer to that. If you want to learn more about like the different type of markets as well, please refer to the Tasty Live material on the resources page of the market concepts. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so let's make this the IB is equal to the connect class we defined earlier. And we're going to use this method here. Okay, we're going to use the try, and after that we're going to use like the finally. Okay, these are 2 things I like to use a lot. I don't know, to me it makes sense logically as well. But let's go ahead and do this. Okay. So for finally, we'll have it like this is like the main thing we want our computer to go through. Okay, we want it to when we run it, save the symbol as the spy. Okay, because we're gonna refer to it all the time later. And then we're gonna straight away first connect to the Interactive Brokers Trading Workstation, right, through this class. Then we're gonna try, if we can, right, to run this class, retrieving the historical data. Okay, so let's try the historical data is equal to get historical data, or the class we made up here. And we're going to use IB and symbol as our, in mathematics, you'd call these like your free floating variables, okay? Your free like undefined variables. Okay. And so we're going to be using the Interactive Brokers library and the SPY symbol. So we're going to do that right now. Save the, actually no, I will do it later. This is it, okay? And then we're gonna kind of use this. This is something I'm not the strongest in Python. Maybe our computer science students, team members can kind of help better explain what these are. But pretty much we're saying that if there is a class name called literally main, run it. Okay, so pretty much when we run the code, we want it to run this first, because in here we have the directions of how everything else, and like the order we want the program to work in, right? We want it to first, again, save the symbol as spy, connect to the interactive brokers through these steps here, and then try, if you can, right, to retrieve the data. And then if you can, we're gonna have it printed out. And once it's done, finally go ahead and disconnect, because then we don't want to run this code and like constantly be like running this code. We want it to like run, collect the data, and once we're done, just exit right out. We want the code to stop working, we want our computer to stop like using resources, and for our trading workstation to be free of a task. Okay, so right now it's open, right? It's so let's go ahead, let's save our code here and let's run it. Oh, and actually I'm gonna help you guys real quick. You want to run it, a Python file, in the dedicated terminal. Do not just run the code. We want it to run in the dedicated terminal. So then you get this thing popping up, and now we can see it worked. Okay. So let's make this bigger, and let's look through our terminal here, and you can see, boom. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about API and how we're connecting our computer to their server. So we just did that through this code. We connected onto it, connected our port, connected our server ID, and our client ID as well, right, which is 1. And boom, we literally pulled off from the server 1 year of daily price data, right? But this is how they have it organized. They have it organized like this, which is like really messy. And I mean, you can look at this and you can definitely find insights, right? Let's look. It pulled it off the first day starting at the 16th. I'm going to assume then that the 14th was probably a Saturday or a Sunday. It looks like it was probably a Saturday. Because probably the 14th and the 15th, there's no dates, and the first date starts at the 16th. Okay, so it will also only show you data of a market day, right? So if it's like a national holiday or the weekend, there obviously won't be any data. Okay, so let's look how it organized it. It started off like this. It says bar data, date, right? Let's remember that there's this like little class called date, is this right here. It's datetime.date, this right here. This is the method that we used in this line, the format date. The open, right, is 475.25, which if we compare 475.25 to today, right, we can see
Trading
that
connection lost.
you would have made quite a return from a year ago, right? You would have turned 475 into 585 or 582, which is fantastic. But let's see on that day how you would have done performance-wise. So the high went up. You went up like a little bit, like a point up, and then you went, looks like 3 points down, and we closed somewhere around a little bit like half a point down. Okay, maybe like not like a quarter point, a little bit over a quarter point down for the day. So you can see like this, we can kind of like from this one line here, can come up with a conclusion that on this day the market wasn't very volatile. It looks like it was very flat. The standard deviation was only like, let's see, it went 1 point up and then 2 points down. So a total of 3. So this was definitely a quieter day, but it looks like from the open to the close, it actually went down. So it was like a red day for the market. Not too much. And also have to realize that like when I say a 3-point move, that's in proportion to the underlying value. Like obviously if this was like a $5 stock, a $3 move or a 3-point move is a lot, right? That's very volatile compared to this, which proportionally it's not. Okay. So these are just like insights I'm trying to show you that you can gather from like the sloppy data. And then you can see here the volume. This is like how many trades were open and closed. Okay, so you have to understand, volume is trades open and closed. I'm going to recommend again, if you do not understand a concept, and I'm talking like really understand it, there is a difference between volume and I'm already blinking on the other term. But there are differences in certain volumetric like values. One could be like just trades open. Here you go. Open interest and volume is 2 completely different things, but they kind of represent a similar idea. Like volume is both trades opened and closed, while open interest is just trades opened, I believe, and not trades closed. And then average, you have to also understand that averages can be deduced or calculated in multiple different ways. I do plan on posting a video on our resources page on like the 3 different types of averages, so then all you understand what an average is, one, like actually understand what average is, and also you understand which average to use and which to apply and what they kind of mean. Okay. And then this bar count, we're gonna ignore it. We're just gonna ignore it in this demonstration. Okay. So okay, how do we now turn this into a cleaner data set, and also in a way that we can also save it in like a file method that's good to export and is like small data, like file size wise. We're gonna do it by saving it to a CSV. Now, before I go there, what I wanted to show, I'm blinking, so I'm not gonna show it now. Don't mind this, is the fact that it's just like near 12 o'clock. So Interactive Brokers kind of just wants to close itself out. All right, let's keep going. So let's save some of this data. So I'm gonna get rid of this print line. I recommend you all do the same so you don't constantly get this every time. So let's get rid of the print line. You can leave the return here. Okay, so before this main and after this get historical data, we are going to save the data. I'm just gonna apply it. Okay, fine. You win. Log off time. Let's do like. Save data to CSV. All right, so let's define literally save data to CSV, and we're going to be using the historical data for this class. If I can spell historical data, and the file name as well, which we'll refer to this in just a moment. The file name. So first, we're gonna have to actually use pandas to turn a list like this into a data frame. So we're gonna want to do import pandas as PD. This is a similar method, just like this one here, where you kind of just make an abbreviation for a library. So then when you refer to it in the code, you don't have to constantly write out the full name. You can just write PD dot. Like just like here, we wrote IB dot, IB dot, IB dot, instead of having to constantly write like capital case IB or Interactive Brokers in its entirely. All right. Cool. Let's keep going. So we're gonna make the data frame, right? This again just an abbreviation for data frame, is equal to the pandas data frame.
Trading connection reestablished.
We're gonna use a parenthesis, hard bracket, curly bracket, return. So it looks like this. I'll explain to you why we do it in just a moment. So inside this curly bracket, we're going to literally make the columns in the Excel file, okay? So what we want in our Excel file are the same, are like literally the labels. Like what labels would you come up with when you look at data like this, right? Obviously, we're looking at this bar data. Let's look, we want the date in one label, in one column. We want the open, the high, the low, the close, and the volume. We're not gonna do the average and the bar count, okay? We're just going to do these 5, I believe. So let's do it in order. So date. And again, inside this data frame, you're literally making this like as if, like think of it like as if you're making your Excel file, okay? Bar.date. And the reason why we say bar.date, I'll explain bar in a moment, but the date, we're referring to literally this right here. So we want to say like, hey, like when you search through this list, when you see the word date, pull this stuff, okay? When you see the word open, pull this stuff. When you see the word high, pull this, right? So we're going to do the same thing here. Open, like we said, is going to be bar.open. And luckily for us, like this matches this exactly. Okay? So it makes it really intuitive and nice for a first code that we're doing for our quant club. Quant team, my apologies. All right, let's do low. Bar.low. Let's do close, oh gosh, as bar.close. And again, make sure you include a comma at the end when you go on to the next line. volume is bar.volume. All right. And then that's pretty much it. Now, this bar, right? We haven't defined it yet. So we're going to define it right after this curly bracket inside the pink hard bracket. We're going to write for bar in historical data. So that means for each bar, literally, this bar data, right? For each one of these bar, you can see like the hard, it closes, comma, and then now it goes to the 17th, comma, now it's the 18th, right? For each bar, we want to pull inside this entirety, right? I'm sorry for the confusion. For each bar in its entirety, okay? For all this data, we want to pull the date, the open, the high, the low, the close, the volume for each bar, and that's it. That's pretty much the method you'd use for this, okay? So then next, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna ensure that the date is in a time format that works for our CSV and is also very clean. I would say this code I'm writing here is more one of those codes lines that you kind of like don't really understand, but you do it more because like it's the industry standard. You know what I mean? It also just, this is more like a don't question it. More or less just like use this as a reference. So then if you ever get like errors in regards to like the way your data is formatted, kind of maybe use these lines as a solution, because this is pretty much like the lines that saved my headaches in regards to having data issues and stuff like that. So these are for the data issues. These are the two lines. Just copy and paste this. Okay. Next, we're going to use the data frame, and we're going to save our data frame to a CSV. That's definitely not it. To our CSV, there you go. And we're going to have the CSV called file name. And again, we referred to it earlier, but we still haven't defined this function yet. Okay, and we will in just a moment. Then that's it. We'll go ahead and we'll leave it like this. Okay. So now we've gone ahead. We've saved the data to a CSV file. We've done it by making a data frame and then literally saving this data frame to the file name, and obviously as a CSV. So now we're going to go ahead. We're going to go back into our main class here, and we're going to add just a few more lines. So then we want ourselves as a user understand that our code did work and it did actually save it to a file. One, and two, we got to literally like save it to the file. Okay, so let's do it right now. And name the file as well. So let's connect to the save data to CSV class. And like I said here, we use the historical data and the file name. So let's go ahead. The historical data stays the same, but we actually are going to name the file name. Okay, so when you say the letter F, right, this allows us to add a function in the line of the quotation marks. Okay, so we're going to use the curly brackets, symbol, the symbol being the SPY, right? Underscore 1 day, okay, we can do it lowercase, 1 day underscore data dot, do I need to include that? Yeah, dot CSV. So that means that now when this data runs, it goes to the main function, right? Again, it remembers that it's a SPY contract. It connects to the IBKR, right, through these steps. Then it will try to connect to the historical data, right here. It will return the historical data, which is all of this information you see here. And then once it does that, and again, not returning it back to us, but just returning it to itself, then we're going to have it try and save the data to an actual file by the file name. And here's the file name. It's right here. It's going to be, if we read this out loud, it's going to be SPY underscore 1 day underscore data.csv. The reason why we do that is so then when we have our folder filled up with like hundreds of data sets, you can distinguish between the files and know, okay, this is actually like the NVIDIA 1 day data, one day, 1 year contract, like data set. And you can always change this, make it more effective for you. Like you can do like 1D, yeah, let's do this, 1D, 1Y, right? So we know that it's let's do it the other way around because it's duration first, right? 1 year, 1 day, okay? So then we know that this is the SPY 1 year duration, 1 day bar size data. Boom. And then in the future, let's say you change this to like 5 years and like 1 week, you can write 5Y 1W, right? and spy underscore 5y 1w underscore data. So you can just understand in your folder system, have like a clean filing naming system as well, right? So it's a good practice to have. And then for the sake of you as a user, I'm gonna have it print out a line that says like successfully. That's definitely not how you spell successfully. Let's just say like, yeah, just say saved to symbol underscore the 1y1d underscore data dot csv. And then again, if you don't add the f here, this will literally print out like the curly bracket symbol curly bracket on the screen. But when you add the f here, it distinguishes that, hey, this in the curly bracket is like a function we're referring to. And so instead it'll print out save to spy underscore 1 day underscore data. Okay, so guys, to be honest with you, this is it. This is the entire code required to make a functioning data fetcher, I guess, or like pulling trades data. So let's go ahead. We just did the 4 steps, and let's see it in action. Let's hit run, and boom. So this time it didn't print out like this entire sheet of data. What it did was it just printed out when we ran it, saved to the spy underscore 1y1d underscore data csv, and boom, it's done. It actually closed out. Now it's ready for another code to run. And what you can also see in our folder is, boom, we have now a new file, literally called a CSV file. So let's open it up. And this is what it looks like through Visual Studio. I will open it up in Excel in just a moment here, but you can see instead of having this like list junk that I just deleted away, look at this now. It's organized. Look at how cleanly this is organized. We have the date here in the format that we like, the open price, the high price, the open, the high, the close, the low, and the volume. Look at how much more readable this is, and the insights you can take. Like now it's easier to see at the close and the high, there's a $3 gap down, right? And so we might come up with an algorithm that looks up and calculates, hey, if there's like more than a 1 standard deviation move from the close to the high, from the previous close to the new high, oh my gosh, the new open, then let's maybe buy the contract, right, for the day. And we can close the contract at 2 p.m. Whatever, right? Like that's an example of an algorithm we can make. Now that we have access to this code, this program that we all made together, right? This program here will now allow you to come up with quantitative research and insights, and make it also possible that you can backtest your data against this data set in particular. Let's just say you want to make sure your algorithm works for sure. So you test it on this data set. Then you go ahead and you download like something different than the SPY. Let's just say the Dow Jones, right? And then you want to test out how your algorithm does against the Dow Jones, right? So you don't have like a bias of any sort. All right, so let's go ahead. I don't want to make this video too long. Let's open this up in Excel. So let's go to our City Quants. Let's go here. And as you can see, boom, there it is. Here's the Excel file with everything in it. And you can see it's like, I think around 252 lines. Yeah. So 251 lines in particular of data. All organized, all very clean. You can actually go ahead and you can select all these and turn it into a like table in Excel. I would maybe mess it around in Excel. Maybe look at Tableau as an option for data visualization. But I know like with Excel, we can do stuff like average, and we can grab like the average of all the highs, right? And it looks like it's 547 compared to the average of all the lows, and you can see like the difference here. And this would be like the difference. I guess we can just do some. How do you subtract? Whatever. Equals this minus this, and that's the difference between the high and the low. High average minus low average, and this is like an insight that we have now that's possible through like one simple Excel thing, and I'm just gonna close interactive brokers. And yeah, and then also it's really cool is you can go ahead and you can take this data like the date, and let's just say let's take the close, and you can actually model your own chart technically as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me just delete this all real quick. And then date, oops, date, and the close. There we go. What did I do wrong? What's going on? Why does it not want to work? What did I do? All this, hello. What is going on? I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what's going on. I guess let me quickly just, I guess, be more specific with what I'm highlighting. No, it should be from this to this. And this to this. Gosh, I don't know why it's got to be like this. Sometimes, again, I don't use Excel personally like this. I recommend like Tableau. We'll make algorithms that will actually plot this out even better. But hopefully now it should work. There you go. Jesus. And boom, now you have your own technically like SPY 1 year daily bars chart. Technically, here you go. You made your own chart, your own 1 year chart, like so. And then you can also make another chart, maybe more insightful one. Like I'm gonna try this one more time. Not close. Oh, we can do open and close. Compare the two. There you go. Thank God it worked. Here, and now you have like another chart technically. And this one's like pretty cool because you can see, I gotta make it better though. This is terrible. Format, there you go. Not this, let's do like 400. 650 is good. And let's do like 25. That's fine, that's fine. And then maybe stretch this out more. You can see like a difference. Obviously, the high should be always, I mean, the open, I don't know, not always, but this is a cool way to see it. You can see like the open in blue and the close in red and orange. You can kind of see like, you can find maybe some patterns through this, some insights, right? This is like, again, SPY open versus close. So yeah, a lot of things that you can do with this. Plus, again, we're going to use this for more research. You can do more with this as well. More mathematical approaches to this. You can use stuff like Excel. Obviously, this is probably the weaker out of all of them. But yeah, this is what's really cool is that these are like the applications that can be applied solely thanks to the power of this program that we made, which is just fetching bar data. So I'll go ahead. I'll end the video here. I don't want to make it too long. If you have any questions in regards to what happened here today, or you need any concerns, comments, again, questions, just feel free to let me know in the group me or personally text me if you'd like as well. I recommend that you text it in the group me so everybody can see your question. So then in case someone else had the same question, I can answer it for everybody at the same time. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your week, a productive week. And in regards to DePaul Investment Group, there is a fireside chat with Tom Sosnoff, January 28th. And also, myself and the president are going to be speaking at a panel at the Stack Convention, Midwinter 99th Year Conference. So if you'd like, please attend the Stack event. You have to register for it. And the Tom Sosnoff event is run through Dig as well. And just like if you guys don't know, the Quant members are part of Dig, as the Quant team is a part of Dig. So you are automatically a member of Dig if you are inside the Quant team. So you have access to all the events that is run by Dig. And yeah, so my name is Thomas, your captain, and I'm signing out. Have a great night, everybody.